guys, welcome to the channel. Today's video, you guys already know what time it is. We have the White Steel Eel boss event, and I'm basically going to give you guys a team because the last time we went against this boss, we were basically using old team comps, and now the fact that we have the ignition weapon system in the game, we have brand new characters. I feel like I should definitely provide you guys a brand new team, and I feel like this team has a lot of potential against this boss. But before I get started on the video, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and also turn on post notification bell so that you guys can always stay tuned as to when I post new videos. I really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here on the channel, I have a Discord server, so if you guys have any questions, you can join the server by going to my channel description. You see the server link there, and I'll also post a server link in the comment section down below. But anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into the video. So before I show you guys this team, there's literally one thing I have to say. I hope that the Tower of God New World devs, I hope that later on in the future they basically add a free practice attempt here, because I'll say that's like the most annoying part about this boss is the fact that you have 2 daily attempts and you can't really practice against this boss. Like, you have 2 attempts and that's pretty much it. You can't practice, you can't use different team comps. It kind of sucks, and it basically restricts people from using different teams, because what if you get one shot, you know? So I hope later on, you know, in the future, the devs, they actually implement a practice run so that you can actually practice against this boss, so that when you actually do your attempt, you can actually have a good team. So the team that I want to show you guys is, and don't worry about the damage, because the reason why my damage is not, I mean, 134 million is actually pretty high, but it could have been higher, but I got one shotted, and that's why I say they should really add a practice run in this game so that you can basically test your teams before you do an attempt. So the team that I definitely want to show you guys is, you guys already know which character you want to use against this boss. Now, the #1 most important character against this boss is, of course, Vespa. Vespa, she is extremely important against this boss because she will basically lower this boss's swiftness, which basically lowers his attack speed, which gives your team enough time to basically heal up or basically, you know, proc that immortality. So Vespa is a 100% necessity in this team. Now, another character who's another necessity is none other than Evan. Now, Evan, he's really a crucial character for this team, because Evan, his special skill will basically proc that immortality. So whenever this boss is about to one-shot you, you can basically use Evan's special skill so that you can basically counter that one shot. So Evan is 100% a necessity for this team. If you don't have Evan, then you won't be able to survive for a pretty long time against this boss. You can still put in a couple damage against this boss, but you won't be able to survive that full 2 minutes, or I think it was 1 minute and 40 seconds. You basically won't be able to survive the entire battle if you don't have Evan. So Evan, he's a necessity for sure. Now, another character that is pretty good against this boss is none other than Rachel. Now, Rachel, the reason why I put Rachel against this boss is because Rachel, she is an amazing boss unit. She can do really good damage, and if you have the attack speed set on her, she can basically do tons of damage against this boss. As you guys can see, she did around like 64 million. It's insane. So you definitely want to use Rachel against this boss because she can heal herself up, and then on top of that, she can basically do some good damage against this boss. So Rachel, definitely a good character. Now, another character I'm talking about is Joaquin. Now, Joaquin, he can also do some good damage as well, but if you're suffering from swiftness increase, you can put another character like Ulrich Mazinal, because Ulrich Mazinal, he can also decrease swiftness. So Ulrich Mazinal, he wouldn't be a bad character to use, but the reason why I'm using Joaquin is for sure that DPS, because Joaquin, the fact that I have full rainbow stars on him, he basically has that additional 50 energy as soon as the battle starts, so he'll be able to automatically spam his special skill, which does a lot of damage overall. So Joaquin, he's really good against this boss. He can do some really good damage. And then another character that's good is Hwarun. Now, Hwarun, the reason why Hwarun is really good against this boss is because she basically provides that barrier. She also, like, the only reason why she's good is because of that barrier. That's literally the only reason why. And of course, the max HP set, if you have the max HP set on her, she can basically provide that barrier and also additional energy and defense. So Hwarun, she's really good for swiftness increase, and then on top of that, barrier, because when she puts that little pathway down, she can basically increase the swiftness of your team, and she can basically allow Vespa to basically spam her special skill so that Vespa can basically slow this boss down, and then that Evan can also spam his special skill. So Hwaron, she's really crucial in his team because she provides that barrier, and she can also do some pretty decent damage, and she also provides swiftness. So overall, this is a team that I'm using. I could have done a lot more damage, but you know, I got one-shotted, which is really annoying, and this is why I hope later on in the future they implement a practice test so that you can practice with, you know, multiple team comps, and then when you're comfortable with the specific team comp that you're going to use, you can use that team comp for your attempts. So hopefully, you know, the devs are watching this video. If the devs are watching this video, please implement a practice test for these bosses. It's just going to make everything so much better. So I'm going to go ahead and click replay for you guys. Now, the main reason why I got one-shotted in this team is because I basically didn't time Evan's special skill correctly. You literally have to time his special skill. And one thing I also recommend you guys to do against this boss, you don't want to fight this boss in like 3 times speed. You want to fight this boss in just normal speed, because you'll be able to, you know, actually time your special skills correctly, because you actually have to time Evan's skill correctly. For Vespa, you don't have to worry about Vespa. You just have to spam Vespa's special skill, and Hwaron, pretty much every other character just spam their special skill. But for Evan, you literally have to spam his, not spam, but you basically have to use his special skill at the right time, because if you don't use his special skill at the right time, you're gonna die immediately. So this is basically my practice test, and I'm also going to talk about another thing with Vespa, and basically the stats you need for Vespa. So as you guys can see, I haven't even used Evan's skill yet. I immediately used Vespa's skill, and then we were able to survive. And look at this swiftness decrease on the boss. He can't even attack fast because of Vespa. And then we're going to use Vespa's skill again, and look at how slow the boss is. Look at this. This is why Vespa is a necessity against his boss. And you guys can basically see that I saved up Evan's skill until he was like, I saved up his skill right at like as soon as he was about to use his special attack. That's when I use Evan's special skill. So you basically want to use Evan's special skill right before the boss uses his one-shot attack. As soon as you see him doing this attack right here where he's gonna, like, you know, take a huge deep breath, you want to use Evan's special skill. But you also want to be careful, because Vespa might slow him down too much to the point where, you know, Evan's special skill is going to run out of time already, and then by the time he lets out his one-shot attack, Evan's special skill is already out. So I think that's the reason why I got one-shot against this boss, because I used Evan's special skill way too quick, and then Vespa was able to slow him down way too quick. And look at this, I used Vespa's special skill, and look at how slow he was, and then by the time he blew it, and then that's when Evan's special skill was already done. So you basically want to time everybody's special skill correctly. You don't want to fight this boss in 3 times speed, because you're just gonna flop against this boss at 3 times speed. Now, the most important stat that you definitely want to focus on against this boss is swiftness. Swiftness is extremely important against this boss, because if you don't have the right amount of swiftness, you're gonna die immediately. So for Vespa, the ignition weapon set I put on her is Bergamot. The reason why I put Bergamot is to basically increase her survivability. And then for, if we look at her stats, like if I go back right here, we look at her stats. If I can actually look at it, yeah, they're not like letting me look at her stats. Let me go back to my team. So swiftness is basically the most important stat against this boss. If you don't have, you know, swiftness, then the boss is just going to immediately one-shot you. It's just going to be terrible. So as you guys can see, I have around like 33 swiftness. 33 swiftness is actually not that bad. It's actually pretty decent. You definitely want to level up her report, basically max out all the swiftness so that you can get all these additional swiftness points. So swiftness is extremely important on Vespa, and if you can also get that accuracy, you definitely want to get that accuracy so that she can actually land her active skill, her special move, because as you guys can see, for her special move, she basically has a swiftness decrease by 20 for 10 seconds. So her special move is literally the most crucial part about this boss, because he just basically goes into slow motion when Vespa uses her skill. But like I said, her special skill is a double-edged sword, because yes, you can slow the boss down by a lot, but at the same time, when you use her special skill, you're gonna have to time that perfectly with Evan's special skill as well, because if you use Evan's special skill first and then you use Vespa's special skill, then the boss is going to be way too slow, and you basically wasted Evan's special skill for no reason. So you basically want to time Evan's special skill perfectly with Vespa's special skill. Now, another thing I also want to talk about is a new mechanic for this boss. So for this boss, they basically introduced a new mechanic. So the new mechanic that they introduced, if I click this question mark right here, now it's pretty much the same thing. Now if you guys see right here, this is basically a new mechanic. It says the aligned skill can be used when the boss flashes red while its weak point is exposed. The aligned skill does not activate automatically even when auto is on. You must tap the skill yourself to use it. So that's the main reason why I tell you guys, you don't want to fight this boss in 3x speed, and you definitely don't want to fight this boss in auto mode. Auto mode is completely trash against this boss. You don't want to use auto mode, because when you see the boss glowing red, you're gonna have this little indicator flashing. You definitely want to use that. I was able to have access to that indicator once in one of my attempts. So yeah, when you see the boss flash red, then you want to click the sword right here, and then when you click that sword, you can basically stun the boss. So this is actually really helpful. This is probably a new mechanic. I've never seen this before, but if it's not a new mechanic, then basically you click this indicator whenever the boss is shining red, because that's basically the boss's weak point, and you can basically stun the boss. So that's pretty much the White Steel Eel event. It's pretty simple, but like I said, I hope later on in the future they implement a practice attempt, because only giving us 2 attempts and we can't even practice with the team comps we want to use is kind of frustrating, because, you know, it just basically restricts players from using various team comps. Because what if we get one-shotted and, you know, our attempts basically go away? We basically have to wait another day to, you know, try another team comp. Like, if we run out of attempts, at least let us go back into the battle and basically, you know, fight the boss again, but this time we can't get the rewards, because 2 attempts daily, it just sucks overall. I just hope they add a practice attempt. But that's pretty much the team. Like I said, don't fight this boss in 3x speed. Don't fight this boss in auto mode. If you have Vespa, use Vespa. It is, if you don't have your Vespa at, you know, 2 purple stars or 3 red stars, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have Vespa on your team, you have the right, you know, ignition weapon system on her and the right amount of swiftness on her, Vespa is extremely important against this boss, because she can basically slow this boss, like she can basically slow this boss down by a lot. And Evan is also really important because of that special skill and the immortality. And if you have any other DPS characters, like I know there's other boss units like Blurode is a really good boss unit. You can probably use him, or you can probably use, you know, other DPS units on your team that you have. Like another, I'll definitely recommend you guys some other DPS units for sure. I feel like Rachel and Joaquin are still by far the best. Probably Blurode is, but I don't even have Blurode, so that's why I don't really talk about Blurode, because I don't even have him. But as soon as I get Blurode, I'm definitely going to try to test him out for sure. But other DPS characters that you definitely want to use against this boss, you probably want to use units such as Kaseya. Kaseya, she can do some pretty good damage overall. She's not the best in slot against this boss, but she can do some pretty good damage. Yiwa, you don't want to use Yiwa against this boss because she doesn't do damage at all. She barely does damage. And yeah, Yiwa is just not really good against this boss at all. Hats, he's not bad. His survivability is decent against this boss. It's not the best, but he can do some pretty decent damage overall. And another unit you also want to use against this boss, Uric Mazino. Uric Mazino is honestly pretty good against this boss because he also has that swiftness decrease, so he can basically slow the boss down. He can't slow the boss down as much as Vespa can, but he can slow the boss down just a little bit, and he can also provide that additional physical magic resistance to your team, which is really good. And he can also give shield to your whole team. So Uric Mazino, he's not bad overall, pretty decent unit. And I tested Gusting against this boss. Gusting is honestly pretty good, but I just feel like Evan is just way better because of the immortality. Gusting, the only good thing about Gusting is the additional attack, healing, and the swiftness increase, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, I don't think Gusting is the best in slot against this boss because he doesn't really have that immortality like Evan does. I feel like the immortality is just way better overall, but you know, Gusting is still a good unit. But against this boss, he's definitely not best in slot. Karaka can also be a good unit against this boss because Karaka basically has provocation. And if we go back to the boss over here, if I click alliance right here and then we check the boss, I'm pretty sure for one of the boss's stats, let me check right here. Yes, it says that the boss, if we come over here, it basically says for his passive, the Y Steel Eel's basic attacks become ranged if there are no enemies nearby. The Y Steel Eel's basic attack stun targets for 1 second. Every 5th attack becomes permanently immune to injury, max HP decrease, and all status effects except for provoke. So he's basically immune to injury, max HP decrease. He's basically immune to these things, but he is not immune to provoke. So that's the main reason why Karaka can be a really good unit against this boss, because Karaka can basically proc that provocation, which can basically taunt the boss. So Karaka, if you have Karaka, you definitely want to test Karaka out with this boss for sure. I tested Karaka out, but I don't even have my Karaka built, so that's why I didn't really use him. But if you have your Karaka built and if you have the defense ignition weapon system on him, you definitely want to test him out because of that provocation. But those are pretty much all the characters I want to talk about. Bomb, he's a good battery unit, but I feel like using Quarun, Vespa, Evan, and probably 2 DPS units like Rachel and Joaquin are a lot better overall. But if you want a battery unit to basically give Vespa and other units energy so that they can basically spam their special skill, Bomb isn't a bad choice. But those are pretty much the teams. If you guys have any other recommendations, you can go ahead and put it down in the comment section down below. But anyways, I'll be ending the video at that. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. Put your thoughts down below in the comment section what you guys think overall. I appreciate you all for watching this video, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.